Hello everybody, Walter here. Welcome to episode 33 of my Oxygen Not Included Let's Play series with the Space Dot DLC. In the previous episode we sent our very first rocket into space to get some more data banks for research, and then we continued working on the nuclear farming setup on our second base. Unfortunately we got a bit interrupted with some meteorites striking and punching through the ceiling, making a total mess, so today we are going to have to do a little bit of cleanup before we continue with the farming. So with that said, let's jump back into the game and have a look. Now, before we actually get started with this episode here, there is one little milestone we're about to hit, which is cycle 1000, as you can see in the top left corner there. And any second now we should actually be at that point. So let's just speed up a bit and wait a few moments. And there we have it. Now our colony is 1000 cycles old. Unfortunately, it appears there is no lore entry or message from the game for us for hitting that milestone, which I can remember I actually got in the base game. But with that milestone hit, we can now finally get properly started with this episode. And here we are back on Dribbling, which is, as I mentioned, currently a bit of a mess due to all of the spilled liquids. Now, while my dupes are working on clearing out the area at the top there and also expanding the meteorite shield, especially towards this area here, there are a couple of things I can do in the intermediate time. For one, the liquid lock down here broke, and to keep the hydrogen in place I put in a tile there, but I really should replace that tile with an insulated tile to keep the heat in my base. That's one. And the other is I can continue working on the Beeta Farm here. So for that I'm going to grab myself a couple mechanized airlocks and place them in those spots. They will also need some power. And then the next step would be putting in enough water to fill this layer here to the very top and just a little bit on top of that. And in the intermediate time I put in a liquid lock and started evacuating this chamber because I need a vacuum. But now it's time for a little bit of automation, so I'm going to grab myself first an AND gate, and I'm going to place it right in this spot here. Yeah, that looks good. Then I'm going to need some automation wire. The first connects over here, then I have one connecting over here. This one goes to this side, this one here goes out to there. Then I'm going to need a couple bridges, one here and one there. Also a little bit of automation wire right there. And that's pretty much all of the automation done. Then let's actually increase the priority for this. Now, next step is putting in mesh tiles on top of those blocks, and then I'm going to need an insulated tile right here. Then let's continue on. I'm going to need another mechanized airlock right in this spot, on top of which I will also need some wire. Then for shipping I'm going to need an auto sweeper right in this spot here, if I remember correctly. No, I need it here. Yep, so I can reach everything. That's looking good. Then I need a conveyor loader right here, and a second one will have to be placed right there. Let's actually place this one also this way around. Just make sure it's not in the way of the automation. Yep, that looks good. Then this one here connects to this one connects to this one, and I will actually need to snip this off right here. And I might as well do the snipping over there and connect via a bridge, because this will be the input, and for that one I'm going to need a conveyor tool right in this spot there. And that's pretty much all I need to put in for now, and almost forgot about the power. So that's the power done, and once I have a vacuum I can remove the pump again and now start with the automation. So let's start actually with two NOT gates right here. Then I'm going to need a couple of filter gates One going down, the other going up. Right there. Then, let's see. I am going to need a couple ore gates, if I remember correctly. Yep, that looks good. One will have to be put in here. No, that's the wrong spot again. Down here. And the other one needs to be placed up there. Then, let's also grab ourselves a timer sensor, a cycle sensor to be more precise, which needs to go right here. Now for wire, I am going to need a connection here, then a connection there. This one here goes all the way over there and then into the middle. This one here goes straight out, and this one here too. Then let's just wait until the saving is done. Then let's continue going all the way down here. This one also goes to here, this one here goes to there, and then finally I have a connection over there. And now for the more interesting part, we're going to need a couple of signal counters. I need one here, another one there, and then one here, and one there. Now with the counters in place, it's time for a couple of settings. I am going to start over here with the temperature sensor. I want to have this at 20 degrees. Then the filter gates should be at 4 seconds each. Then this counter should be set to 2. As should be this one here. And then I need to, well, first I need to cut off the connection here for now. Then give this here a couple signals. So, then reconnect. And now I'm just going to set this to the minimum I can get, which should be 0.5%. Come on, so, or 3 seconds. And that should be all I need for this one here. Now the next step would be getting a Beeta hive in here. But for that I'll need to get access to the bottom here. So before I work on that, let's actually work on the connection with the conveyor rails. So I'm just going to follow this one here all the way to the side here. And then, yeah, that looks good. Let's just go down here. Add one more here to the side and also some power. And that is how I'm going to get the uranium ore to the Beeta hive in here. Now the output will be pretty simple too. This one here will be for the leftover solid nuclear fuel, nuclear waste. And this one here will be for the refined uranium, not refined, enriched uranium. So, which is then moved automatically up and to the research reactor. Okay, that is looking good. And yeah, next step, once all of this here is built, is getting this liquid lock here repaired so I can actually get my hands on a Beeta. And here comes Ren to get our Beeta. So let's just speed this. Wait. Ren, where are you? Ah, he's taking a break. Let's see. Do I have another one who can do this? Pi? Yeah, let's do this with Pi. She's another potential ranger. Yeah, let's do it like that. Priorities. Let's see. Just making sure. Yeah. Pi should work on that first. Because I think she's actually in a slightly different shift. Yeah, she's in the second shift. So I hope she's actually going to get our Beeta. Yeah, that's looking good. Let's just speed this up a bit. And let's see how that works out. We also now have finally a vacuum in here, which is also good to see. So the liquid lock is functional again. And now we should see in just a few moments Beeta be moved into the ranch, or Beeta Farm. So let's see. What the hell? Okay. Perfect. And we have our first Beeta hive. Okay, perfect. This was close, but we have our Beeta hive in here. And in about 5 cycles or so, we should see our first couple betas being produced in here. That's very nice to see. Now I can get the pips out there and close off this side. And the automatic Beeta hive is done. The last part down here is dealing with the polluted oxygen, so I'm going to add a couple deodorizers. But in the intermediate time, we had a meteorite strike coming in, and you already saw it in the beginning of this cut here. My tubes are getting scalded up here because these bunker tiles here are very hot and are leaking into the atmosphere. So I should definitely prioritize this insulation layer here for one. And the other problem I noticed is that meteorites can actually strike through a layer of bunker tiles, since they have a bit of a radius or area of effect. So the solution to that isn't overly complicated. I'm just going to move the bunker tiles 2 up. That should leave me enough space for my tubes to actually move through the gap. And that should also make sure that I'm not getting any more damage to my insulation layer. So, now while my tubes are working on that, I should also start up the actual farm here. And for that, I'm going to start up the ethanol intake up here. So now you should see the ethanol coming through this pipe here, finding its way to the hydroponic farms. And I should actually snip this off here. And yeah, we should very soon see those here growing, but we should also increase the priority for these farm stations and the farming in general. Pi is already a farmer, and Ren is also now a farmer. So, and with the farmer's touch applied, we should be not at 21 cycles to the next harvest, but somewhere around 11 or 12 cycles, so much faster. And if we are very lucky, we should see in a dozen cycles or so our first mutated plant, and then we can switch to another crop. But with that said, let's do a little bit of final cleanup over the area. And for now, I'll leave my dupes working on mostly the insulation and the bunker tiles here. And also general cleanup, of course. But in the intermediate time, we might as well start working on our spaceport in this area here. And I'm going to start in this corner with a liquid pump. Or do I want to go a bit lower? No, I will go at this layer here. Yeah. So, as I was saying, I'm going to need a liquid pump. And the game is freezing again. So, out of steel, right in this spot here. Then, I'm going to need a tile, right in this spot. Then insulation, right below. Next, I am going to need, under shipping, a solid rocket port unloader. 1, 2. I'm just leaving a bit of space in case I need something else later on. Then under gases, I have a couple gas rocket intakes. 3 should be definitely enough. Let's see, if I remember correctly, yeah, I have 3 unused gas pipes, so I might as well use them here. Then, on the rocketry, I need the rocket platforms. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that's the limit here. And I actually should make sure I make all of this out of at least steel. Don't have any tungsten at the moment, but I could make some. But I think this is definitely sufficient for now. So as I said, I'm going to make those out of steel. Then, under rocketry, I also now have these new extensions, and I'm just going to put them in between. Then, I need a bit more insulation out of obsidian this time. Right below the center of each of those platforms, except for the third one. Then normal insulation all the way to the side here. Then next up, I need a steam chamber below, and this goes down to this layer, I think. So I can put it in like so. That is the layer, and I'm just going to keep this open for now so my dupes can actually get in here and build this. Then over here, I need an intake for the rod bolts. So I have my rod bolt joint plate here, another joint plate there. And then, let's see, I also need a layer of ladders going all the way up here for now. Then metal tiles. I will worry about this in a moment. I was working about the radiation, so I need to go up there. And that works out quite nicely. The radiation itself will come from over here. So I should potentially make sure my dupes aren't moving through this layer here. At least when rad bolts are being supplied. So I should potentially, let's see. Come on. So, just going to add a door here and another door here. The usual trick to keep my dupes out of the area. And then I'm just going to build these here all the way to the side. And then down here. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Now, I also need a ceiling in here. I keep this open so my dupes can get in still before the ladder's in place. Then I need a bit of a liquid lock over here, and I'm going with a simple setup like this here. So double liquid lock with 2 liquid drops should be enough. Then a manual airlock here, although I could actually go with a mechanized airlock out of steel potentially, since this might get a bit warm again. Then metal tiles, and I'm going with iron for this. This should be enough. Just going straight up. And for now I'm going to stop at this point there. Then a layer of insulation following that, just like so. Okay, then I'm going to need a couple liquids in there, as I already mentioned. And that should be all. Then next up is getting an atmosuit checkpoint in place. So I'm going to need under stations. And here I'm just going with the normal suits. So 1, 2, 3. That's a bit too few. I guess I will have to get rid of at least this one here. And potentially even this one here, so I can add even a few more. Power I will worry about later, but for now all of this here would be built first. And the research just finished, so we now have the interplanetary launcher as well as the drill cone, which is very nice to see. Now, next up I'm going for the hydrogen engine, and for that I'm also going to need the small and the normal petroleum engine. So let's get that started. And let's prioritize this cleanup up here a bit more, so we can get a few more atmosuits in place. And then the last one will follow in a moment, but waiting on that, I might as well start putting in the conveyor rail for this one here. And ultimately the conveyor rail needs to lead to this area here. Now I could move it into this conveyor rail, which would essentially make a big loop until it lands up there. But I think I'm actually going to go directly over here, like so. Then I need to bridge that over here. I'm going to need a bridge here and here, and then I'm going to connect over here. I should just make sure the bridges are built first. And once they are in place, I can change the connections here, probably. Although, yeah, you know what? I'm going to snip the connections right now. And so then just going to connect over here. That should be all for the conveyors. This can be put in place. Then next up we have gases. And as I said, I want 3 for oxygen. Oxygen comes from over here. And I'm just going to run those 3 here in parallel all the way to over here, and I might as well also run them into those checkpoints here. Just like this here. Next on the agenda is power. And since all of this here is going to require a decent amount, I'm going to go with the heavy watt conductive wire. Now, the power I will grab myself from over here, so I think I'm going to go just down here with a couple joint plates. And then I'm just going to follow this path here until I'm there, then in here. For now, let's leave that open. I will need a couple bridges, though, so let's put them in here with the highest priority first. In those spots. Then let's snap off the connections, so I'm not getting any short circuits. Then, over here, I am going to need a joint plate, but I would like to have a vacuum in here, so I'm going to temporarily place those 4 tiles here. And that should be all I need to, once I have this here removed, replace this here without losing the vacuum in there. So it first worked, but then a dupe came by and decided this was the perfect spot to take a breather. So I lost the vacuum. Not too much of an issue. I'm just going to put a pump in here and pump that out with a high pressure vent. Now, this will need power. I will also need some power for all of this here. Just like that. Then, for the future, I'm likely going to need some tungsten. So I'm going to make, for now, let's say 2 tons. That should be enough. Then let's continue over here, more precisely in this corner. Here I am going to add a couple metal tiles due to the increased deco value. And since this one here will be a vacuum chamber later on, I can actually do it like this. On top of those, I'm going to place my transit tube access. And then the transit tube will go to the left and then down. This one here obviously needs to go. And then over here I can also add a couple temp shift plates out of diamond. The first, second, fourth and fifth one. This one here will not have a rocket on top. This is more or less a cheap alternative to more port extensions. And then let's make the connection over here. Perfect. Next up, let's have a look. We still need some pipes, namely the pipe from this liquid pump, which should end up in my miscellaneous pump or pipe down here. Now I could go down here and then through here. That's a bit tricky. Or I could go around here. Yeah, I will do the second one. So up here, then over, and then I'm basically following this pipe here. And then let's see, if I were to go to this spot here, then I can go over there. Now let's quickly put in the missing bridges before I forget about them. And then down here, I'm just going to add 2 bridges there. Snip off the connection here and here. And connect them down like so. And just making sure those are built first. Okay, that's the output for the liquids done, and we have our first bit of tungsten, which is nice to see. And I just got notified that we have our first nosh sprout mutant, which should be somewhere on this conveyor rail here. Let's see. Yep, that looks good. So let's have a look. Nosh bean, unidentified subspecies. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted to see. And that means I can get rid of all of this here now. And move those here over to Bristle Blossom at the top and Dusk Cap at the bottom. And why is this not being moved out? Ah, the storage tile is in the way. Okay. Totally ignored that little problem. So let's just move them out to these corners here. And the same up there, although don't really need this layer, and I also don't need in this corner there. You know what, I can leave that in place. I won't likely make use of those anyway. Let's see. Those can be moved over. This can be removed. This one here needs to be turned into slime. For the Dusk Cap, I'm also going to have to switch over from ethanol to water. So first of all, let's flush out the pipe. Then I will have to empty all of these storages here very quickly. The Dusk Cap I don't really need to empty, they don't need any irritation anyway. Irrigation. So those can all be moved over. And that's the last one. Then I need a Dusk Cap, which is over here. Copy settings for these here. Then up there, I am going to need some light for the Bristle Blossom. So one here, one there should be perfectly enough. Quick connection here. Then I am going to need to change the temperature from 0 degrees to the intermediate temperature range. So quickly stopping the time. Disconnecting here, opening up there, then reconnecting here and here. And now this here should very quickly change to the intermediate time and heat up all of this area down here. There we go, the Bristle Blossom is now also in place and should be able to be harvested in about just 3 cycles, which is very nice to see. Now I'm obviously going to run a couple more harvests than just one, even if I get a mutant in the first place, since I still need to fill this farm over here. But with that said, let's switch over to Albino and let's continue over here. Now the main parts over here are done, so I can start planning a bit more in the middle here. Now on top of this rocket platform there will not be a rocket, but a stack of steam chambers and turbines to cool down the exhaust of the hydrogen engines. So I'm just going to go straight up here. Then do I want to go too high? Let's go 3 high. So first steam turbine, then the chamber, second turbine, then third, and can I fit in another one? Let's actually have a look. So 35 is the maximum height of a hydrogen engine, and that works out quite perfectly. So yeah, I'm going to add a 4th steam time on top later. Now, I'm going to need a couple of metal tiles on this side here. Then the steam turbines need power, and basically I'm going to grab myself the power from the left here via a couple joint plates. So this here will basically be a vacuum with some petroleum at the bottom to cool down the steam turbines. So this needs power, and then let's go just over here. Then let's connect on the inside with the steam turbine. In here, as I said, I'm going to need some petroleum. Then I'm also going to deal with the output of the steam turbines. which will go into a liquid vent down here. So, and so, and so, and then straight up there. Then, I need the cooling loop, and yeah, let's go with aluminium. These here might get a bit warm, so this might be a decent idea. Then let's just wait until the saving is done. And now let's connect everything to the top here. As I said, there will be another chamber at the top. Cooling will come from down here. And you know what? I may need a bit more aluminium over here, so I'm for now ordering the transportation of aluminium to my primary base. I will rescind that order once I have a couple tons over here in a moment. So this is all in place. Now I'm going to also grab myself a ladder here, so everything remains reachable. Do I miss anything? This is... Yeah, let's actually also make sure we get rid of all of these ladders here and make space for the turbines. Now, next up, let's worry about cooling the exhaust of the rockets down here. So in the middle, I'm going to place 2 steam turbines. Let's actually go with gold. So one here and one there. Then I am going to need a joint plate in this spot and in this spot. That works out pretty nicely. Then down there another one. And something is entombed. Let's have a look. Building entombed. Ah, okay. Let's see. I'm just going to add the liquid naphtha in here again, and then we should see this here turning back again. So, but let's continue over here. So, I need the highway wire over here and also over here. In this spot, I am then later on going to place the aqua tuner to cool down all of this here, but it will have to wait a bit still. Then I am going to need a couple metal tiles in those spots, and also a temp shift plate here and another temp shift plate in this spot. Yeah, that is pretty much all I need in there. I'm also going to need some liquids in there, so let's get a bottle emptier in place, and obviously I need to close this part off with some insulated tiles. Okay, I still need to deal with the output. So, and this side here will need a bit more cooling, so I'm going to go over to this spot. I'm just going to connect like so. Yep, that works out quite nicely. This cooling loop I will worry about once I have the aqua tuner in place. And a good amount of time later, we now have all of this here built, and it's time for the aqua tuner. So let's grab that one, and I'm going to place it right here in the middle, next to the liquid vent. Then I need the thermosensor right there. Those need to be connected, and I'm just going with gold wire for this. Then let's make sure the power actually reaches where it needs to go. Now, for the piping, I first need a couple liquid bridges down here. Then the input will be this one here, and the output will be this one here. And now let's see, how do I want to play this? Let's say I go around here, then over, and then in there, and this one here runs up. Then it will run, although I should potentially avoid the metal tiles, since they are rather good at heat transfer. So I'm just going to go straight down here, straight up there, and then I have a metal tile, or a couple aluminium going around here, up to this point, and then I go over and close the loop. So that is the cooling loop basically done. And all that's left is, well, putting this in, closing this off, putting in some liquid, and then closing off the rest here. And here we go, the bottom of the cooling loop is now done. As you can see, I changed the piping a little bit to be closer to the center and farther away from the heat spikes on the sides. I also started on adding some temperature shift plates out of diamond here to the side, and these here are out of ice, so I get some water in here. Same on this side. In the intermediate time, I was able to, well, for one, finish with the research, so let's work on that. So we now have access to the hydrogen engine. And now let's go for the Barakeen flow before we later on then finish up the research down here. As you can see, there is not much missing. But in the intermediate time, over here I got ahead quite a bit. I now have mutants for mealwood, for bristle blossom, for dusk cap, and thimbleweed. And I'm currently working on the grubfruit and the bog bucket. Now, with that said, I think we've reached a good point to stop with this episode here. We have basically the left half of this rocket silo more or less done. The right half will follow the next episode, as will the top. And if we are lucky, we might even get our first research and exploration rocket into space. And that brings us to the actual end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share and comment if you did so, it really helps with the algorithm. Independent of that, I wish you a nice day, and well, see ya!